Welcome back, David. So I found influencers have been tremendous in my life, and they sometimes come in a split second at the right time, right place, or they come long term. They're short, they're tall, they're skinny, they're fat, they're black and white, whatever they are. Can you share with us, two or three or whatever influencers for your life?
Sure. So one was I was extremely fortunate early on to be selected at an early age to work with Dr. Robert Ballard, who was one of the discoverers of the Titanic. And so I was very young. We were
Wow.
in the Sea of Cortez. We were working on mapping the hydrothermal events. But aside from that extraordinary sort of scientific experience, he also just shared why he was doing that. That he had a family event that was kind of tragic, but he had turned that tragic event into an opportunity to engage students at the high school age in science and broadcast that to the world. And I think that was a case of not just having the world of science opened up, but I want to give him credit for choosing to be a survivor from what was a challenging circumstance and actually bring good from that. And I thought that was very powerful. Two other
Cool.
people I would mention. There is a Professor Jennifer Lerner, who is at the Harvard Kennedy School. She is a psychologist, and she focuses on 21st century decision leadership. Similar compelling story that she has she took circumstances that without it's her own case, but she took circumstances that might have made other people say, "Oh, I can't do this," or "It's going to hold me back." And if anything, she's used it to propel herself forward and be a positive change agent. And I think that's again a wonderful model. I also just love reading all the research she's doing and working with her on the fact that we are all biased as humans, that impacts our decision making, and that she's bringing a scientific approach to it, which is very compelling to me, alongside the empathy associated with being a leader. And then the last one I'd like to give a shout out. Another person I had very early on and I've stayed in touch with throughout the years is a Dr. William Jeffrey. He's now at SRI as the CEO of SRI. But in a past life, I got called down to the principal's office when I was a junior in high school. And everyone's like, ooh. But literally there was Bill Jeffrey and about three other individuals all in suits that said, "We'd like to offer you a job. You can't tell your parents what you're doing, but it will involve some degree of working on classified activities." And at the time it was involving small satellites in the 1990s.
Wow.
That was a compelling. I don't think I even asked what they were going to pay me. I just said, "Sure. Where do I sign?" But we stayed in touch, and I think he brings both a scientific bent, but also a sense of humor and humanity that I've tried to sort of embody in everything that I'm doing too.
I would have, as a kid, just been intrigued that this must be really cool because I can't tell my parents.
Yeah, I'm the same. I agree. I think that's how they, whether they did it intentional or not, they knew exactly how to get someone excited to say, "Sure, where do I sign?" And then later say, "Oh, by the way, what it was like $10 an hour in the 1990s." But it was a fascinating opportunity. I got to travel with him to Ogden, Utah. We were doing some things with satellites there and some observations. And actually, he empowered me to lead a project that involved picking up forest fires from space, scanning the wind conditions and topography, and demonstrating at least that this would work as a prototype going forward.
And it's great to have great people help you along the way.
But I think that shows that for all of us, we need to recognize. I mean, I was a preacher's kid. I mean, there was no real family connections that made it happen. But I was fortunate enough that this all came about in the early 90s when the Cold War, while it was over, the government was still looking for science and technology talent anywhere around the world. I think if there was any legacy, unfortunately, it's great that the Cold War in theory ended, but when it ended, the U.S. government stopped looking for science technology. And I mean, I was from rural Virginia at the time. We moved around every 3 or 4 years. My father was a minister. But I think that's something where we still need to do is we need to find talent, not just in the United States, but anywhere in the world, and find opportunities to link it to people that can actually help uplift it. And so that's something, again, I feel like any good leader should try to open the door for those that don't have the opportunity yet to show how they can shine and how they can be leaders too.
Well, that's amazing. Pat Riley, I compare a lot of things to sports. Pat Riley said the best legacy I could ever have is any assistant coach or someone that's been in the coaching with me becomes a head coach or more, then that's the legacy. So great influencers. Thanks so much for sharing those.
Oh, thank you, Mark, as always. And it's always a joy to be chatting with you about how we can lead with empathy in the way forward.
You definitely make me smarter, let me tell you. So thanks, man.